Flosstube! Thanks for stopping by my channel. My name is Shiloh and I am a cross stitcher and knitter living in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. You can find me on Instagram as @Xstitchmd. All of the projects I talk about and all of the stash that I've gotten, I link below in the drop down box, so if you feel like you're enabled and want to get any of it, you can. So it's been 3 weeks since I last recorded. I was supposed to record last week, but I was just feeling supremely lazy, and so I didn't, but I'm back today. And despite my laziness in recording, I have not been lazy when it comes to my projects, and I have lots of stuff to share. So let's jump right in. We'll start off with my stitching. So I don't have any finishes, but I do have 3 new starts. I was very good and did not start anything new in the month of August. So I started a bunch of things. Oh, actually I have 4 starts. I started a lot of things. But let's go with some progress on some of my previous whips. So this project is called Etude by Lena Cross Stitch, and it's available on her Etsy shop as a PDF download. And here is where I am. I am almost finished it, so close. So, excuse my hanging thread, this motif here, the 2 blue ones, that's the bottom row. So it is 8 squares wide by 10 squares high. So I think I have 15 squares left to go. So I'm pretty close with this. I'm using all of the called for DMC floss on 32 count Little Bunny Linen by Xstitchmd Design. And I'm using 2 strands. So I like 2 strands of floss on 36 count. Some people like 1 strand, it's personal preference. I just like a thicker coverage. This design is so fun because every square is different. None of them repeat. And I like just the pops of oranges and all the different colors. I've seen some other people using different colorways. So I've seen this stitched all in one color, like a variegated color, which is also beautiful. And if any of you watch Ellen, Maximum Cross Stitch Power Hour, her friend Ryan is stitching this, and he's using I think a gray fabric in like different pinks and purples, and it is so beautiful. I really like it as well. So that is Etude, and it is almost done. And I pick it up and work on a few squares at a time, and then I get distracted by something else. So I mean, I could just finish this if I focused on it, but what fun is that? The other whip I worked on was my patchwork Quaker. This is by Wehenberg Designs and available as a PDF download on their website. I'm stitching this as a stitch along with Megan Georgia Girl Stitching. Check out her Flosstube, she's amazing. And she is a lot further along than I am, but I'm trying to catch up to her. So I'm stitching mine on 36 count Aqua Edinburgh linen. That's kind of the color there. When I go in, it tends to blow out a bit. And I'm using all the called for DMC floss, and again I'm stitching with 2 strands on 36 count. To me, this is like the perfect coverage. Some people think it's too thick. Do what you like. So I got this motif done and almost all of this motif. I'm really enjoying this one. I think the colors just look perfect on this fabric, and it's really fun to stitch. I like how the motifs all kind of overlap each other. Oftentimes with Quaker motifs, they're not touching. But this one, they're all kind of, you know, all up at each other's business, and which means you have to really pay attention to the pattern and the counting, but I really like how it looks. So that's my patchwork Quaker. Okay, now we have my 4 new starts. 3 of them are ink circles patterns because I'm just having a moment with ink circles patterns and absolutely love them. And 1 is another stitch along I'm doing. So we'll start off with this one here. So this is, I just have to find the, oh there it is. This is Forest Flower by Ink Circles, and Teresa, who is I believe Teresa Stitcher on Instagram, had sent this to me, which was so sweet of her. I originally saw Caroline from Off the Grid Needle Art stitch this, and I was like, I want that, and then Teresa sent it to me, which was so sweet of her. So here's where I'm at. I was stitching this on a little scrap of fabric. So I had bought I think it was like 10 pieces of like 9x9 32 count linen from Stash Unload, which a lot of people just talk about Stash Unload. It's a Facebook group, so there's actually a couple different groups on Facebook called Stash Unload, but the purpose of all of them is people sell their stash that they don't need anymore. And so postal regulations have changed because it used to be that I could get things shipped from the US to Canada really cheap. but now you can only ship it for that price if it's a document, so I don't really use Stash Unload as much anymore. But if you're in the US, highly recommend it. You can get lots of great deals there. It's very dangerous. All that to say, I'm stitching this on a scrap piece of fabric I got there, and this is 32 count vintage autumn field linen by Zweigart, which appears to now be discontinued, which is too bad because it's really pretty. Yeah, I really, really like it. I'm using the called for Gentle Arts floss, except for the blue. The blue is called for Brethren Blue, and all of the stores I looked at were out of stock, so I just used the DMC substitution, which was DMC 924, and to me it looks great. I'm really enjoying this. So I have one quadrant completely finished. It's really pretty, really fun, easy stitch. I really like it. It's fun. It's very relaxing. So that is Ink Circles Forest Flower. The next one I started was also, the pattern was also sent to me by Teresa. Teresa sent me this lovely stack of charts that she wasn't going to use, which was so nice of her. So thank you again, Teresa. So this is Ink Circles Dragons of Sumatra, which just, oh, that floss is so gorgeous. I think it's Gloriana Silks Cranberry. So originally I was looking at this and like, this is beautiful, but it's not really my style. However, a friend of mine is obsessed with dragons. He loves Game of Thrones, obsessed with dragons. And I'm like, I kind of want to stitch this, but it's not something I necessarily, I mean, the more I look at it, the more I want to keep it for myself, but whatever, we'll see. So far the plan is to give it to him, but we'll see. So yes, so I started this. I'm stitching this on a 32 count Stormy Night Belfast linen, which is one of Zweigart's printed linens. So the back, I think, is just their pearl gray, and the front is the printed. So some variation there. And I'm using sulky thread, and the color is medium navy. I don't remember the number, but it's on my Instagram. And I got sulky thread from 123 Stitch. One of my previous videos I talked about sulky thread. Basically, it comes on a spool. It's the equivalent of 2 strands of DMC. So I'm just using 1 strand of sulky on 32 count. The coverage is pretty good. You can see in the dragon's wing, it's a little bit peeking through, but I don't mind. It's fine. I'm not gonna use 2 strands of sulky. That would be a bit too bulky, but I really am enjoying this. And it's funny because I didn't notice at first, I guess I probably should have, but I didn't notice when I looked quickly, but the border actually changes. So that's kind of fun. You're not just stitching the same border over and over again, because when I was stitching this part, I was like, oh my goodness, this border's taking forever, not realizing that it changes. So pay attention to your pattern. So that is it so far. Lots more to go, but I got that border done and started on one of the dragons. Super fun. Super, super fun. All right, my next start is also an Ink Circles pattern because of course, why not? This one though is a PDF download. So Tracy Horner of Ink Circles has some of her charts available for PDF download on her website. So that is a super great option for those of you who are not in the US and shipping can be expensive. And it's also just nice for people in the US because who doesn't want instant gratification? Like I really like PDF download charts because you get them right away. So this chart is called Cirque de Coeurs, which is French for Circus of Hearts. And Amy of Always Amy, I think that's her Flosstube channel as well. She finished this recently and it's beautiful. And I am loving this. I can't put it down. It is so much fun to stitch. I'm stitching this on 32 count white Murano, which is kind of like, it's an even weave, so it's similar to Lagana. It probably just has a different fabric composition. And I got this off of Etsy, and it was pretty cheap, which is why I got it, because I'm cheap. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of Monaco, not quite as thick. I'm really enjoying stitching it. I'm using Silks for You, PR, I believe this is 119 or 019, something like that, which is this beautiful magenta, pinky, purpley color. And I'm using 2 strands of silk on 32 count. And I think the coverage is perfect, amazing, I love it. And this is just so much fun. Like I love stitching this and then looking at it and like finding all the hearts in it. It's really fun. So that is my Cirque de Coeurs. Very obsessed with it. The one thing to say about this fabric though, the Murano, it frays a lot. So just something to be aware of. Otherwise, it's wonderful fabric. My next start is absolutely massive. So this pattern is called the Bristol Sampler, and it is in the May-June 2012 issue of the Gift of Stitching magazine, which happens to be the last issue of the Gift of Stitching magazine. So I talked about this magazine, I think my last video or the video before. So basically this magazine was published from 2006 to 2012 when they stopped publishing it. And previously we were able to buy back issues from their Etsy shop. However, for the past like 2 years or so, they hadn't been selling them anymore. But recently, the editor, Kirsten Edwards, had started publishing them again. So you can go to their website, which is TGOSM, thegiftofstitchingmagazine.com, and you can buy all the back issues there. When I got them, they had a sale going on and it was $50 US for all the back issues, which is 72 back issues. When I posted that, they actually dropped the price to $40. So those of you that have bought them more recently got an even better deal, but I'd highly recommend checking them out. The magazines have so many amazing patterns and I am in love with this one. So this pattern, I am doing a stitch long with Tiff and Stitches. Check her out on Flosstube and Instagram. And she is doing hers on a 40 count linen with a beautiful color and cotton variegated purple. And it looks amazing, I love it. I also am doing mine in purple because I wanted to kind of match her. And here's where I'm at. So I am stitching this on 37 count Russian tea cake linen by Access Commodities, which I got from 123 Stitch. This is the same linen that I'm using for my Quaker Seasons of Friendship. I really, really like it. It's like a very thick linen. I don't know if you can see. It's like thick and it just has a really nice feel to it. I just love it. I'm using a sulky thread because I'm obsessed with it, and the color is Royal Purple. It's hard to show the color of this. It looks kind of navy, but it's definitely a purple in real life. And my plan is I was gonna stitch, so this is the bottom of the first page, and this is the edge of the first page. So I'm gonna stitch it page by page, and my plan was, I was stitching it down because this top alphabet is huge and takes forever, and these little alphabets take no time at all to stitch. So I have just one more letter here, the letter E, which extends a bit into the next page, but I'll probably stitch that before I'll finish the rest of this page. And this pattern is huge. Did I already mention that? It's 300 stitches wide by 500 stitches long. So on 37 count, I believe it's 16 by 27. It's massive, it's absolutely massive. But that being said, there is a lot of blank space. So there's space between the motifs. There's lots of open space in the letters, so it does stitch up fairly quickly. It's 3 pages across and 5 pages down, so I got a lot of work to do. But I'm really enjoying stitching this, and it's really fun to see Tiffany post her progress. Any of you want to join us, please do. It's hashtag Bristol Sampler SAL to follow with your progress, and it's just a super fun stitch. So that's all my stitching. Let's move on to knitting. So with my knitting, I've mainly been focusing on this Afghan that I had started last video. So this is the Don't Be Square Afghan by Amy Gunderson for Universal Yarns. And I'm doing mine a little bit differently. So you can see in the picture that all of the squares were joined together, and then there was a border around the edge and a fringe. I don't like the fringe, and I want to do a thicker border. So if you remember my Hue Shift Afghan that I finished last time, I did a border all the way around it, which was called for. And I want to do something like that, but in between each square. So I'm thinking I'll knit like a border this way, and then knit individually. In my head, it's going to work. We'll see how it actually works out when I do it, but I think it's going to look great. So I got a lot of squares done. I think last time I showed it, I had 3 squares done, and I knit like 12 more squares. Like, they're just so addictive. I can finish a square in about an hour and a half, which is 3 episodes of The Office. I think I mentioned that before. So most nights I've been like whipping out a square. They're just really fun. Okay, so I'm gonna show you all my squares. First of all, I'll talk about the yarn I'm using. So the yarn I'm using is Loops and Threads Baby Bliss yarn, which is a acrylic nylon blend. Does it say that there? It's really hard to read backwards. I always think that it's not, but it really is. Okay, nylon acrylic blend. This is the color I'm gonna use for the border. The colors I'm using in the Afghan itself are Sprightly Teal, Ship Blue, Cutie Pie Pink, and Enchanted White. They're all like baby names, but this is for me and not a baby. And the color I'm gonna use for the border is Pitter Patter Gray. I also am using 2 Karen Simply Soft yarns because I needed like a burgundy red and a pale pink, and they didn't have that in this line, the Loops and Threads Baby Bliss line. So I'm using soft pink and burgundy in the Karen Simply Soft. This is all like fairly inexpensive yarn because it's acrylic. And acrylic is great for blankets because it's cheap, it's machine washable, it's easy. Okay, so let's show you all my squares. There is a lot of them. Start off with number 1, which is called cubed. So this technique is called intarsia, where you're working with one color separately from another color, and at the back you have to twist your stitches so that there's no hole in between them. I haven't woven in any of my ends, it's messy. So that is called cubed. Very cute. Also, yeah, so I have not woven in any of the ends and I have not blocked them, so they don't look ideal, but you get the idea. Square number 2 is called Do the Wave. So this and this are the Karen yarns, and this is the Baby Bliss. The Karen is a little bit thicker, but I think it works okay. It's called Do the Wave. This one is called Step Up Your Game. And I think, oh, you know what? That's backwards. It's this way. I mean, the backside looks pretty good too, right? But this is the correct way. The next one is number 4 is Tree Family, which I showed last time. And that's the sprightly teal colorway. The next one is called Check It. This was really fun. This was color work where you're slipping, sorry, not color work, it's slip stitch. Really fun. Check It. This one's called Slip Step, which is slipping stitches. I messed up a little bit on the top border, top one. I don't even remember where I did somewhere, but whatever. Oh yeah, this one. I messed up a little bit, who cares? This next one's called Ecolate, and this was fun. I also messed up on this one. See if you can tell though. Whatever. Cables are tricky. If you can tell, I messed up here. This one's too short, but again, whatever. Ecolate. Links and Posts, which I had finished last time. Surprisingly did not make a mistake in this one. This one's called Every Which Way. I really enjoyed knitting this one. This was fun with all the things. Raising Cain, which I can't remember if I had finished last time or not. I might have. It's called Plaid to the Bone. This was also really fun, where these log stitches are created by doing a yarn over with 3 wraps, which you then slip and carry so that it goes the whole way. This is cool. Plaid to the Bone. Squares 9 and 10 I haven't done yet because they're done on DPNs, and I find DPNs, double pointed needles, very fiddly to work with, so it wasn't the relaxing thing I wanted to in the moment, so I didn't do those ones yet. Square 14 I'm currently working on. This is square 15 called the Mighty Miter. Square 16, Miter Mayhem. And square 17 I haven't done yet. Square 18, Nep Beginnings. I showed this last time. So there's 20 squares in all, and I have 5 left to do. So my plan is, once I have all 20 done, I'm going to block them all to make sure I can get them all the same size. And then I'm going to arrange them. So the way that the pattern has them arranged, I'm probably going to do it differently because I would like to kind of have it where the colors kind of progress along the line. It's hard to explain. You probably understand what I mean. But I would like to have kind of like the white squares together, then the pink, then the green, then the blue, something like that, right? So I'm very excited for this. It's gonna be fun, and this yarn is super soft. So here are all my stack of blocks that I will then get to knit together with. I agree. That's the plan. Other knitting. I am so close to finishing my sock. So close. I just have the toe left to do. I was going to do it last night. Then I ate Indian food for dinner, and I just felt like laying on the couch and doing nothing, so that's what I did. But I'm very close, so I just have to do the toe, and then my pair of socks will be done. This yarn is called Drive All Night, and it is from Michael's Loops and Threads yarn, and it is Perfect Pair is the name of the sock yarn, and it is an acrylic bamboo nylon blend. It's really nice. It's like a thicker yarn, and it's really soft, and I'm very proud of myself because, well, so obviously my cuffs are different lengths, but I managed to match up the stripes pretty much perfectly. So you can see I just have the toe left to do, and then I'll have a pair, and I'm so excited. This will be my first ever pair of socks. I seem to have this thing where I like to do weird things with holding my knitting around my head. I'm a psychiatry resident and I should be able to understand the deeper meaning of that, but I have no idea. So that is my second sock there. And then I want to cast on like 10 socks because moving on to acquisitions, cue my sister laughing because she thinks it sounds funny, I bought a bunch of yarn. So let's start off with this first one that I got at a yarn shop here in Nova Scotia. So 2 weeks ago I went to a wedding that was out of town, and it was nearby a couple of really cute villages called, well, I guess towns, called Chester and Mahone Bay, which both had really adorable yarn shops, and I restrained myself in the one and only bought some knitting needles. I wanted to just buy everything, but it was really hard. The other one I went to was called, I can't remember the actual name of the shop. It might have been called Heidi's by Hand because that's the name of the yarn, and she dyes her own yarn. So this beautiful sock yarn had to come home with me. Like, isn't that just awesome? I love it. So it is hand-dyed mighty fine sock, 75% wool, 25% nylon. I'll just show you the tag here. Hand-dyed yarn is not cheap, folks. This was $28.95 Canadian, whereas my Michael's yarn was $6.99. I'm supporting a local artist, okay? So it's got quite a bit of yardage on it too, 459 yards. And it doesn't have a name. It does not. Oh, that was the name of the shop, HW Woolworks Studio. She probably has a website if you want to look at it. She had gorgeous yarn. I literally went to buy all of it, but it was expensive, so I limited myself to this one glorious skein that will become, will become a pair of socks for myself. And I love it, love it, love it, love it. So I'm excited to cake this up into a cake of yarn. Also, thank you for someone who let me know last time that you're supposed to knit from the center of the cake, not the outside. I had no idea, but now I know. The other yarn I got. So I decided I need to buy a bunch of sock yarn, and knitpicks.com has really affordable yarn. More affordable than like the hand-dyed stuff. So they have this thing called Sock Lab where they put out like exclusive colorways that are only available for a short period of time, and I loved all of them, and they had a deal where if you buy all three it was cheaper. I want to say it was like $30 US for all three. I could be wrong, I can't remember. I just like block the prices of things out after I buy them because I don't need that in my life, you know? Anyway, so I bought these and they actually shipped pretty quickly. The nice thing about KnitPicks is that for I think orders in the US, it's free shipping over $50, and orders in Canada, it's free shipping over $65 US, which is amazing. So I pretty much always just buy a bunch of stuff, so it's over $65. Okay, so here's some of the sock yarn. So this collection was called, I can't actually remember what the collection is called, but basically they all of the names have to do with like singing and acting. So this one is called Improv. Is this not just so beautiful? So Hawthorne Fingering Weight Sock Lab Improv, and it is 80% superwash wool, 20% polyamide, which I believe is nylon. So that is gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Love it. So nice and squishy too. This next one is called Poetry Slam. Yes, please look at this. So I don't know if they showed like swatches of it knit up, but I'm thinking that it's gonna be a bit stripy with some speckles, I hope. It's so beautiful. So this is called Poetry Slam. These are all still available on their website. You can order them individually or as the set. And then this last one is called Open Mic. So I mean, like, how can you choose between them? Actually, this one's probably my favorite. I mean, the pink and black, clearly. I like that. So I got all three of these, and these are all gonna be socks. Whether they are socks for me, socks for friends, remains to be seen. If any of my in-person friends are watching this and want a pair of socks, just let me know. So yeah, that is all my sock yarn haul. I'm very excited. I need to knit faster. I need to be able to knit with one hand and stitch with the other hand, right? Like, that would be really useful. Okay, the other yarn I got, let me just arrange myself here. The other yarn I got from KnitPicks as well was to knit the Perfect Blend Shawl by Casa Pinka. I saw this shawl on her website and I thought it was just so, so pretty, and I decided I needed to knit it. And it calls for knitting it with 12 mini skeins. So a mini skein usually has 80 to 100 yards on it, and it's kind of just like, well, it's a smaller version of a regular skein of yarn. And Knit Picks on their website had some really nice skein packs, so I got them. So this is the Radiant Reds pack, and it is the Stroll tonal yarn, which is 75% merino wool, 25% nylon. So polyamide must be something different from nylon because it's called something different. Also, apologies, I keep wiping my nose. I think like the yarn fuzzies are just getting in my nose. I got 2 packs of these. So these are 20 grams each, which I think is like 100 yards. I think it comes out to. So it says 462 yards per pack. And the Perfect Blend shawl, I think, called for 900 yards, something like that. So my plan is to, instead of knitting, I think it's 12 stripes, instead of knitting each stripe a different color, I'm just going to use like all of one color until it runs out and then start the next color, the next color, next color. That's my plan for that shawl, and I think it'll be really, really pretty. So I guess I'm having a thing for like pinks lately. So that's my plan for this yarn. Okay, Crosstalk Stash. I did buy a lot lately, didn't I? All right, I got the stuff for my Bristol Sampler Sal. That was from 123 Stitch, so I got the fabric and the floss for that. I also got fabric for Long Dog Sampler's Pandemic, so I think a lot of you downloaded this. The designer had made it available for free at the start of quarantine, and I had been trying to decide what I wanted to stitch mine on, and there is a Facebook group on Facebook called, I believe it's called Pandemic Stitchers, and there are so many different versions of Pandemic on there. I highly recommend checking it out. It's very inspiring and can kind of give you some ideas if you don't want to just stitch it all in one color. So I decided I want to stitch mine in 2 colors, black and red. So I got this fabric, 37 count aesthetic white legacy linen by Access Commodities. This is the same type of linen as the Russian tea cake linen, just in a white. And I got 2 sulky threads. So the first one I got is called Almost Black. So it's like a really dark grayish, but not black. It's almost black. And I'm gonna do accents with Sulky Merlot Red, which is the same sulky I'm using for my Quaker Season of Friendship. I love this color. I would stitch everything possible in it. So I'm gonna do those 2. So the main color is gonna be the black, and I'm gonna do accents with the red. I've seen several people stitch it that way on the Pandemic Stitchers group, and it just looks amazing. So that's my plan. When am I gonna start Pandemic? Who knows? That's another massive project. As you can tell, this fabric is 35 by 36. But that's the plan sometime. Okay, the other stash I got was from 123 Stitch, and it's been really nice because it seems like the mail is picking up and things are coming a lot more quickly, which is dangerous because that means I feel like I need to order things. So I got this chart, which is called Black Raven Quaker, and it's by Weinberg Designs, which is the same designer as my Patchwork Garden, or sorry, Patchwork Quaker. Most of their designs are available as PDFs, but they didn't have this one available as a PDF on their website. So I got the pattern from 123 Stitch. In the center here is where you put your initials. I really like this. I like how it's all different colors instead of just one. I might still just stitch it in one color. I haven't decided. And it's just stitched in DMC threads. Super cute. Black Raven Quaker. The other pattern I got is so beautiful. Okay. So it's called Past and Present by Rosewood Manor, and can we just look at this, because how gorgeous is this? Didn't realize I had heart hanger in it. That's scary, but I can do it. I can do it. Oh, it's so beautiful. It calls for mostly DMC. It does call for pearl cotton for the heart hanger. It has a dinky dye silk, which I think is like this, and it has 1 week dye works. I got all of the needed floss from 123 Stitch. It had a nice little box you could check to get all of it. So this is so beautiful. I haven't decided what fabric I'm gonna stitch this on yet. I might stitch it on a 32 count like mushroom Lugana or something like that. It calls for, I think, 28 count cream cashel linen, but to me that's like, I'm not a huge fan of 28 count. It's a little bit too big. Plus this project is pretty massive. It's 278 by 279, so on 28 can be pretty big. I'm also thinking I might just take out this band here. Wrought by my hand is like not something I would say. So I might just take out that band entirely and move this all up here, which would make it a little bit smaller, but I'm thinking I might do it on 32 count. I'm also trying to think, I think this has, oh, this does have beads in it, So I'll have to double check to make sure that the beads are not like all jammed too close together, because in that case I might need to stitch it on 28 count just because of how the beads are, but I don't even really see the beads. Anyway, this is going to be started soon because how beautiful is this? Yay! All right, so that's all of the projects I've been working on. The other thing I wanted to share is a book I've been reading because it's so good. So me and several of my co-residents have started a book club. We started it during the pandemic, and we meet via Zoom, and we're on our third book so far. It's going very well, and this book of all of them so far is my absolute favorite. It's so good. It actually just came out on September 8th. I highly recommend it. So it's called Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. And some of you may have previously read some of his other books. So he wrote A Man Called Uve, I think that's how you pronounce it, as well as Beartown. Haven't read either of them, ordered them both from Chapters because I'm obsessed with this book. It's so good. It's just so well written. It's like very like fast paced and snappy, and it's just funny. It's really funny. So I'm usually a hardcore read books on my phone, like ebooks, but I'm really enjoying reading this as like a hard copy book. And this is my cute little page marker. So yeah, really enjoying this book. Highly recommend it. Anxious People. It's kind of like a, I don't know how to describe it. I'll just read you what it says. A poignant comedy about a crime that never took place, a would-be bank robber who disappears into thin air, and 8 extremely anxious strangers who find they have more in common than they ever imagined. It's good. Get it. All right, that's all I have for this week. Thanks so much for spending some time with me. I hope you're having a great weekend. I hope you're staying healthy, staying safe, and doing what you need to do to kind of keep yourself well. I know there's been a lot of tragedy and trauma and just all kinds of horrible stuff happening in the world, and I don't know about you, but I'm super grateful that I have my stitching and my knitting and reading to kind of give me solace and, you know, give me space to just process things and feel all the things and work through things and just, you know, find my happy place. So I hope you take some time for yourself to do that this weekend. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.